welcome everyone. The few of you that are here, I'm glad to see that you're here. I hope we're all surviving all the, COVID and the fires and
Pretty sad.
the election and what's going on with our government and all this stuff that's just, I think, making us all pretty nervous and upset. And hopefully we're going to get through this, but I don't know. Anyway, and normally at this time, I just kind of mentioned that PDA is always asking for donations like every other organization, and we're trying to get people to sign up for sustaining donations to do some kind of a monthly donation because it makes it easier to budget. They've got a hardworking staff and they've got to pay them, and all the things that they need to do. They can use money in general, and if they can get it coming in on a recurring basis, that would be helpful. So you can go to PD America and sign up, and I'm sure you get the emails where they ask for you to sign up and make monthly donations. So whatever you can do.
We've been monthly donors for years and years and years. So
oh, great. Well,
we have to come up to something that hopefully it adds up somewhere.
Yeah. And I'm doing something. I signed up a couple finally monthly, and then I made a few donations during the Progressive Central, the People's Convention.
I give them an extra for that. That was really good.
So,
Jerry.
And today, tonight's meeting, we're going to have Scott Schmerelson is going to be speaking.
I think he might be on. No, that's Jerry. Okay.
I just entered. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. I almost forgot. I had 3 robocalls tonight, and they distracted me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We're just starting.
It's hard to be rude and angry at a recording.
I don't know. I don't know. I throw things at the television sometimes. So,
Doesn't stop me.
Anyway, Scott will be on probably sometime between 7:15 and 7:30. Daniel Tamm is going to also is planning on joining us. He's going to talk a little bit about Measure J, which I don't know too much about, but I'm sure he'll fill us in on it. And PDA is is working to get its progressive candidates elected. I'm not sure if you go to the PDA website, you can see and go to their endorsements. You can see who the endorsed candidates are, and there are.
Mike, I've got notes on that if you want me to take over for that.
All right, yeah, because do you have an idea of which elections have already taken place and which ones they're still working?
They're on. If you go to PDA America, or it's pdamerica.org, that's the national, and they've got endorsed candidates. And there's for the House challengers, there's Jamal Bowman, who's in New York, Cori Bush in Missouri, Kara Eastman in Nebraska, Marie Newman in Illinois, and Mike Siegel in Texas. And then they also have one Senate challenger, Paula Jean Swearingen. Oops, I think it was Wyoming. I forgot, or Wisconsin. It was one of the W's. I forgot to write down the state.
Well, Cori and Jamal won, right? They're election.
These are all updated.
Yeah.
They all won the primary, and they're going on to the general.
Yeah.
So they're all going to be against a Republican at this point. And then they have several. They have one Senate candidate or incumbent, and that's Ed Markey. And then they have quite a few House incumbents also listed there. And when you see the photo of the person, right below it is like a little globe. And if you push that, you'll go directly to their website. So you can volunteer for them from there. You can go to their Facebook page, their Twitter page. You can donate on their website, and you can sign up for phone banking or whatever on their website. So they're all progressive candidates from all over the country that you can help out. Or you can just donate directly to PDA. There's a tab for donate on PDA's website. And then part of that money will go to them also.
Yeah. Now, Mike Siegel, has he had his primary yet?
These are all done.
Okay,
Yeah, Mike Siegel won.
because they're saying he's
familiar
his
with-
congressional district.
No,
I
these are all
think.
done. These are all done.
Okay,
What state?
Mike Siegel is Texas, and apparently he's got a really good chance
yeah,
against the Texas incumbent. It's trending more blue, and he's really reaching out with Medicare for All and getting people excited. So if you want to help Biden in Texas, and as well as, let's see, the Senate, is Senate in play too for there? I think somebody's running in Texas too. Yeah.
Hager or something?
Hager, yeah. So you could help all of them by, doing phone calls for Mike Siegel.
yeah. And, PDA has, because things are the way they are, PDA is, but not endorsing, other Democrats who may not be progressive, but of course we want them to win against the Republicans. And, progressives are not thrilled with Biden, but because of the situation, while we may not endorse him, we're supporting him. And the same thing with Jamie Harrison in South Carolina, who's running against Lindsey Graham and Amy McGrath, who was not our choice. We had, I think it was Charles Booker, who looked like he might have a chance, but he lost to Amy McGrath. So we're supporting those candidates. Pardon?
He climbed up, and then it was a very close loss.
Yeah.
To McGrath. She's not very impressive.
Yeah. But anyway, she's running in Kentucky against McConnell, and we certainly would like to get rid of those two. And then also, I forget who it is that's running against Susan Collins in Maine. Those are
Gideon, I think Susan Gideon,
which is the
Sarah
Senate.
Gideon.
Sarah Gideon.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, this is on, PDA has endorsed just the most progressive candidates.
Yeah. We
The
just
website
endorsed.
is up to date so that all these people will be in the general election.
Oh, good.
But,
Okay.
you
So
can call, I'm going to go to probably one or Jamie Harrison's website to call for him too. You can call for any of them now.
Yeah.
Using
and if you want to do something local, I know a lot of local people are working for Christy Smith, but PDA has endorsed Angelica Duenas in CA 29 against Tony Cardenas. So if you want to contact her campaign and help her out, that would be great. Looks like she's doing a lot of Facebook ads. And, I know it's a long shot, but maybe we can, maybe they'll be able to rally the people in her district and defeat Cardenas. So that's another alternative. And that's what I have to say about East Valley Indivisibles is also doing some phone banking for various candidates and texting.
Yeah, Valley Grassroots for Democracy also is pretty organized as far as phone banking and stuff.
Right.
So if you're not on other emails, I'm on email lists for like several of the different clubs. So you get different things from different clubs.
Right. Yeah.
I will get 3 plus Dipsip.
Only 3?
Only, well, plus Dipsip and Dipsip Pack, that's 5 actually meetings a month.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the board so that's 7 meetings a month for 2 of them on the board.
And so far you're avoiding conflicts, huh?
Yeah, we have to be very careful about that.
I know.
I
Is
just got
Markey the
busy
one,
today. I
is
just
Mar-
set
is Markey the
30
one that lost against Kennedy?
No, he
Yeah.
won.
He won. First loss in
I mean,
Massachusetts
won,
for
but he
Kennedy.
won, he
Yeah,
won against Kennedy, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was strange.
yeah.
I just sent 30 emails out today for the community college trustee, board of trustee candidates. There's 33 of them altogether to see if anyone want to have a Democratic endorsement for North Valley, but that'll be a week from tonight, I guess.
Oh, okay. I'll be
Anyway,
Just one last thing on the endorsed PDA's endorsed candidates. You can also email Mike Fox at pdamerica.org, and he will help set you up with phone banking also. So that's another alternative for making calls for PDA's endorsed candidates. And just, can we move on now, Teresa? Does that
Sure.
pretty much cover it?
Mhm.
Okay. I just wanted to mention, Dr. Bill is continuing his work on Medicare for All. So he's having healthcare Zoom meetings on Sunday. So watch for his emails and you can join those. He's relentless at that, but we're not picking up a lot of new co-sponsors on it right now. And hopefully Biden's going to win, but Biden isn't supporting Medicare for all. So
Not yet.
we're gonna have to push him, hopefully get him to win. And that's PDA's plan. Like even Cornell West, is saying, it was interesting. They had a debate on a discussion on Democracy Now! Between Ben Jealous and Cornell West. And Cornell West was much more anti-Biden than Jealous was, but even he said we got to get Biden elected and then push him, because it's PDA's position. We're not going to have any chance of getting anything we want with Trump, not to mention the fact that we're moving towards a fascist dictatorship with him. With Biden, we've got somewhat of a chance with the Democrats. I'm just hoping he's not conning Bernie, because he sure had an awful lot of Republicans at the Democratic convention and not too many of the progressive wing. So, but it's just something I think that it's where we are, and I think that's what we've got to do. There's a difference between supporting and endorsing, and that's the general trend right now. And the next business item that I have is our Educate Congress letters. And we're really pushing HR 92, which is vote by mail. I think we've now presented it 3 times, along with HR 6906. And those were both endorsed by DIPSIV. And the HR 6906 is the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act. And I mentioned it before, it's to get Medicare to cover all out-of-pocket medical costs during the pandemic, which looks like it's going to be going on for a while. And the idea is not only to get people health care who need it, but also to use it as an example of how Medicare for all will work. So we've been pushing that. I presented to Sherman 3 times. John Alford said he sent it on to the legislative people, but so far Sherman hasn't joined on it. Cardenas, his people, I don't even know if they really know well, I think they're kind of learning what it's about now, but they're not, they're not really.
After 10 years.
Pardon? Yeah. Well, he actually attended I think the North Valley Democratic Club endorsement meeting. Wasn't that the one he was at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Valley Grassroots.
Valley Grassroots. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, he didn't come to North Valley.
I'm getting my clubs mixed up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he was actually on. I couldn't believe it.
Anyway, and we presented another bill this time, last month on the letter drops in the Senate and in the House. It's called the Rewind Act. And basically, it's they want to get a law passed prohibiting any subsidies to the fossil fuel industry. So having said that, just my own view is I supported from the beginning, supporting the, and asking for co-sponsorships on the legislation on our letter drops for these last 3 or 4 years, just to kind of get Democrats on record and see who was going to be willing to support it, even though there was not a lot of chance of it passing. But I mentioned this to PDA. I don't know if it's really going to happen or not. I think that we should, my view is, instead of pushing so much for legislation so close to the election that's not going to pass,
Yeah.
maybe we should be pushing to get the Democrats to step up their game and making suggestions to them on, stuff that they can do to defeat Trump and Republicans. Just starting with the fact we should be calling it the Trump regime. We should call on voting against all Republicans because they're putting party over country, and Trump couldn't get away with what he was doing if they weren't supporting him.
Yeah.
And I have a whole list of suggestions. I send it to John Alford. I don't know whether anything will happen with it or not, but it made me feel good anyway. So, but I just think that we need nicknames for him, like Demagogue Donald or Disastrous Donald, Screw Up in Chief, Liar in Chief, and I use a
Mass
different.
murderer in chief.
Yeah, there you go. Dictator Donald. We got to get some of those things that might resonate with independents. Being rational and explaining the issues generally works with progressives and liberals, but it doesn't always work with conservatives. They respond to talking points, messages, and the Goebbels techniques. And, it's amazing what the Republicans do. I watch them on the talk shows, talking over the moderators, talking over the Democratic panelists that they have on. I watch them over and over, and this has been going on for years, accusing the Democrats of doing what they're actually doing themselves. And I just think this really needs to be pointed out. And I won't bore you with going through any more on that. I've just suggested in general that maybe we concentrate on that for the last couple of years. Also, on the Educate Congress, PDA is trying to formalize some of these relationships, and I think they're working primarily with the Congress. They're not talking so much about the Senate, of formalizing these relationships with getting a formalized liaison relationship rather than just dropping the letters, and even doing on some of the more important legislation, trying to get Zoom conference calls discussing the legislation. And they're still working on it, and it probably won't go into effect more fully until after the election. But just to keep you abreast that's one of the things that they're doing to try to put more meat into these Educate Congress letters, because I think it's a good idea, but they've done some good, but they haven't really gotten to where we would like them to get to. So that's kind of the business stuff. I'm kind of taking a look at the agenda to see what we might want to talk about next. Were you going to talk about the Progressive Central, the People's Convention,
Yes.
Teresa? Did you want to do that now, maybe?
Sure. In the emails that were sent out, you all should have gotten a link to Progressive Central. And what it was is we had several people from our club watching it, but I don't see too many on this call. I know Mike saw some of it. Anyone else see some of it?
But I saw the first one.
I saw part of it.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of it. Can somebody send me an email on that, please?
It's in the email for this. There's a second
This
part of it.
This Progressive Central.
Yes.
Yeah, People's Convention. Yeah,
So,
yeah, go on. I was just going to say, maybe you could just give a brief introduction of what it is generally, because they do it each year.
I think they do it when there's a convention going on.
Right, well, that's what I meant, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
every election year. Anyway, so they held it at the same time as the Democratic convention. It was all on Zoom. And it was a lot of candidates, some of the candidates that were endorsed. PDA was one of the main sponsors for it. And a lot of politicians and people like, I don't know, I can't find my notes.
Do you remember who the
Okay,
woman was that spoke?
Sorry?
Do you remember who the woman was that spoke? There was a woman candidate.
Maybe Cara Eastman. There were a lot of candidates there.
Yeah.
There are 10 panels, all on different subjects. So Medicare for All was one. The climate crisis was another one. Labor was another one. Oh, and Scott's about to come on. And then, so it was over 10 hours because each panel was supposed to go about an hour, but they all went over. And some of the speakers were Nina Turner, Mimi Kennedy, Janice Kucinich, Tom Hartman, Ro Khanna, Barbara Lee, Jesse Jackson, and it was really good. I really enjoyed
all the people we know and love.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of just quick video things from politicians, just, explaining who they were and how they had a relationship with PDA. So it was really, I really enjoyed it. And you can watch all of it or some of it in the link that I sent out in the email.
Yeah.
Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I'm
Oh.
Teresa.
Yeah.
We've got Scott Schmerelson on the line. And
Let me, before we move on to Scott, let me just make one more point about the Progressive Central. One of the panelists they had was an activist by the name of Bill Fletcher Jr. And when I was treasurer of the Progressive Caucus, he spoke, and he said something when he spoke, and this was before Occupy. He said, look, it's great when, and I think it was still during, it was probably still during the Obama administration.
Yeah.
And he said, protests and rallies are great, but you can't just go and protest and go home. You've got, which a lot of us do, but you've got to go and rally and stay, which is kind of what Occupy, and but that resonated with me, even though I may not have done anything about it because I'm not an organizer, but it really, and then he said something at Progressive Central that really, resonated with me. And he said that our country is in a cold civil war and some people want to turn it hot. And that really resonated with me because, we're so divided. Can we ever really bridge the gap? I don't know. But the point is, this is simmering. These divisions are simmering. And, there is some people that want to make it hot. What I feel it's the people on the right want to make it hot, and they're the one with the guns. But it just was kind of an interesting comment. And I just wanted to point that out. And that goes along with my call, and I think we all agree, the Democrats need a plan if Trump loses and refuses to leave. But they also need to understand that the Republicans have been rigging elections for the last 20 years, and they're trying to rig it again. We need to have a plan if they rig the election and Trump wins and we want to challenge it. And that all kind of ties in to the fact that this is all the result of this cold civil war. So now, we can move on to Scott. I just wanted to get that in there.
All right.
I'm raising my hand.
Oh, you are?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, but hi.
Okay. Go ahead.
So my comment on that is there appears to be a lot of efforts to suppress the vote in a lot of different ways that they do it.
right.
Ballots being thrown away, ballots not counted, especially mail-in ballots, just a lot of subterfuge.
Yeah. Well, there's
They're
also the
calling-
state cross checks and the reduced polling places. voter ID.
Disqualifying people in mass, disqualifying ballots that are cast, all sorts of tricks. So suppressing the vote is something, there's probably one or two websites that list the various ways that's being done. I get emails on these things in various places. They're always depressing and very alarming.
Yeah.
Check
you know,
out progressive.
It's getting psychological overwhelming, and there's so much of this, people are going to go numb.
Progressive Central had at one panel on elections. It was very interesting. I think it was the third panel. But you can check that out and just fast forward through the other stuff if you want to. But yeah,
What's the website for this Progressive Central meeting?
it's there's a
Where's the-
link in the email that I sent you.
Okay, so I'll
And
look it
you click
over.
on that link.
Yeah.
It's all 10 panels all together in one spot.
And it's
So you
sort of,
have to fast forward through it, or you can go to their Facebook pages, but then you have to skim all the way down. So it was
if you
easier
go to
put
the
it down.
email, it's kind of towards the bottom, as I recall.
Right. It was, there's a line and then there's a second section.
Okay,
All right.
if I-
So we've got Scott Wilson here today.
Thank you,
And,
Teresa. Thank you.
Oh, sure. And he's the incumbent school board member in the 3rd district of LA Unified School District Board, and he'll be on the ballot in November. What would you like to tell us?
Thank you, Teresa. Well, I guess what I want to tell you is that I am the public school board candidate in LAUSD. I just need you to know that I have been 40 years in LAUSD as a teacher, as a counselor, as an assistant principal and a principal, 5 years in Philadelphia also as a teacher, so that'll be 45. And now I've been 5 years now with the LAUSD School Board and Board District 3. So again, my goal really is to make sure that our kids in LAUSD, not just in Board District 3, but I sit on the school board, they all get a fair shot at a decent education, and that everyone is welcome. As soon as they come into the main office to register, they are welcome to come to our schools. And that, I guess that's my main point in comparison with my opposition, who is a charter school person. And they unfortunately try to counsel out people who do not meet their needs, and their needs means the cheapest way to educate them with no special ed services, but just the best way they can get through educating somebody without having to expend too much money. And that really, I guess, is my basic fight. I know Carl's there, and I know he's a supporter, and Encore, but I just see the tactics that they do, and it's just very, very disturbing to me. And let me just say one thing. I know you're going to ask me questions. I was talking to the supervisors yesterday, Labor Day. I was at the harbor. I was at Banning Park, and we were handing out boxes of food for people. And I spoke to Janice Hahn, and I spoke to Hilda Solis, and I said, Hilda, and Janice, I'm very disappointed that your charter schools are accepting PPP money. And I said, that's supposed to be for helping small businesses stay afloat. I said, charter schools When they want to be public, they say they're public. And when they don't want to be public, they forget that they're public and they accept all these millions and millions of dollars that unfortunately belong to small businesses that keep them afloat. So that's my statement, and I'll be happy to take questions.
And the schools didn't get any PPP money.
No, no,
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
no, they're for small
I was-
businesses.
I was wondering how much money is being spent against you, and who is it from? I know it's mainly charter schools, but
Yeah, California Charter Schools Association, the owner, the Walton family, Reed Hastings, anybody you can think of who's a charter school person or against public education is against me.
Caprice Young.
Oh, Doris, I didn't see you. Hello, Doris. Yeah.
I said Caprice Young, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, they haven't been so outspoken, but I am sure. People are very proud to vote, to not support me and to support charter schools. They're very happy to do that. And I'm very surprised, very disappointed.
so how is COVID-19? What are you looking for in the future? How are things going?
Well, let me tell you, I have never been so proud to work for LAUSD, to see what they have done for our kids and our community for during COVID-19. You know, Teresa, I think a couple of days after schools were closed, LAUSD immediately began feeding the public. Okay, we opened grab and go centers all over the city. I think they're like 67, I believe, but there's 17 in the San Fernando Valley. We give food to all who come to the grab and go centers. We do not ask for ID. We do not ask for proof of enrollment. And we don't only give to children, we give to their parents too. And I made a point of saying that I think it's wonderful that we feed everybody. And by the way, believe it or not, so far we've given 58 million meals, 58 million meals to keep our community alive. And my opponent had the nerve to twist my words and say that Scott Schmerelson said that he didn't think that LAUSD should be feeding the parents of our children. And that is such a lie. I never said that. I said we should ask for county and state help in feeding the parents. We get reimbursed for the kids and we gladly feed their parents, but you know, someone else should also help us in feeding the public. So that still burns me to say that someone would twist my words like that to make it sound like I didn't want to feed the adults, you know. We're also, we have wonderful connectivity now with our kids. We had a big problem in the beginning. Many of our disadvantaged students, many of our special ed students, foster students, and homeless students did not have connectivity. You know, it's a shame they were sitting around like Starbucks and stuff trying to do the homework on their computer. That's a terrible thing to do. So we have made sure that devices, whether they be Chromebooks or iPads or laptops, whatever, we make sure the kids have it. We also make sure they have internet access and hotspots, you know, where needed. Very important. And so we have been making calls, and we've even been doing social home visits to make sure, hey, how come you haven't connected with LAUSDnet? And we find out, well, we don't have a computer, or we don't have a hotspot, or we don't have access, and we take care of that personally. But that hotspot and that number for hotspots and computers, that is going all day and all night, and we are handling them case by case by case. So far, we have had 92% attendance in LAUSD since 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's great, except for the 8%. And I tell everybody, you know, that sounds wonderful, but what are we doing for the 8% who have not yet responded? And we are targeting them to get them done. You know, it reminds me when I used to, we had the statistics from injuries or deaths in the war. They said only one soldier was killed today. Well, that's fine, unless you're the mother or father of that one soldier. You know, it's not such a wonderful thing. But that's LAUSD, and I am the original schoolboy, so I will be happy to answer any questions that you all have about it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, Michael. May I call on people, Teresa?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Michael, yes.
yeah, thanks for coming to this evening. We're glad to have you. And as one who felt that along with other states and municipalities that California and LA opened up too soon, you know, before we were really ready. And I'm glad that it's my understanding that schools are not opening up in LAUSD, which I'm happy about. But I was just curious, is there a metric with Newsom or Garcetti's or whoever would be in charge of LAUSD of what the metric would be when they would open up the schools? I mean, is it based on a certain number of cases?
Yeah, let me tell you what I know. First of all, even when we do open on a hybrid model, we are still providing 100% distance learning for those children and those parents of those children who feel, no, it is still not safe for my kid to go back to school yet. There's an underlying health condition. I'm not convinced. I want my child home. We are providing 100% distance learning for those children, okay? So they do not have to attend personally. So originally it was 100 cases per 100,000 people in LA County. So I heard the other day, I thought I heard Dr. Ferrer say there was only one case per 100,000 in LAU County. So we are really getting ready to start. But before kids can come back, before teachers come back, we have this testing program that will begin immediately when childcare starts for LA employees, kids who come to school. So first of all, everyone must be tested. And then someone asked me, well, how often are they retested? And I found out the answer from Health and Human Services. They said in every 3 weeks, people would be retested. So nobody will be coming back until they are tested before they come into school. That I know for sure. And nobody's going to go back to school. First of all, to the health department said it's safe. LA County Health Department is the ones that we are the people who we depend on. And I will not be responsible for anybody getting sick or dying coming back to school too early. Let me add one more thing that I learned. I'm always so proud of LAUSD. We have incorporated the system of cleaning the classrooms. And it was explained to me by the chief facilities of LAUSD. It's a spray, it's a mist that's sprayed into each room. And this is the mist that's ionized and sticks to every surface in the room and remains on the surfaces on the room for X number of days to make sure that they are completely clean. We are also running our, not the compressors, I don't want people to get excited, the air conditioners, but not the compressors, 24 hours a day in all of our schools and all of our offices with the same filter material as the masks that are used by doctors and nurses at the hospital. So we are really doing a, I believe, fantastic job of preventing, of cleaning, and of making sure that it's safe when we come back. But we will come back when the LA County Department of Health says so, and we have begun testing students and teachers and staff.
And what test are you using? Is there a waiting time or how is that working?
Well, you know, this has been in cooperation with Johns Hopkins and Stanford. The superintendent is currently working on this. You know, it's a big deal. And you know, interesting enough, I went to get my flu shot today at CVS, and the pharmacist who I know said, Scott, do you know that next month we will be offering at this CVS a vaccination against COVID-19. Did anyone else hear that? Is it just me? I wasn't drinking. That's what she told me. I was just shocked.
Wow.
It said next month we will be offering a vaccination against COVID.
Put my hand up.
Yeah, Doris's hand is up.
Yes, Doris, my friend.
I had a
Yes.
question. I know we've talked before and not particularly a fan of Buettner, but I have to admit during this pandemic, he seems to be on top of things and I appreciate that.
Doris, you are so correct. Doris, I said to him in our last meeting, which was, we have a monthly meeting. I said, Mr. Buettner, I said, you know, you and I have not agreed on many things in the beginning, but I have to tell you, I like to put myself in other people's shoes before I criticize anyone. And I said, I can't see anything that you are doing to make things better for kids with COVID-19 than you are doing now. So I want to tell you, I salute you for doing that. Now let's see what happens after we go back. But as far as this goes, I complimented him.
Yeah, I criticized because he really wasn't an educator, but he's a businessman and that's what we need right now. So that's been good.
Right. That's right. For right now, I thanked him. Yes. Yes, Teresa.
Do you want to explain for us the difference between charter schools, like the public ones, the private ones? How do those work with the district?
I think most people understand that charter schools are funded like public schools are funded. They receive money. And so they actually are taking money away from our LAUSD students because they're diverting funds to the charter school. You know, when the charter school has a super duper idea on how to educate children, they have something new, an improved method. The original idea was they were going to share with us at LAUSD, you know, their innovations, and we would take it in. But it kind of got off track. And what's happening, which is the worst part of everything, are these co-locations. So whenever there's room at a school, for whatever reason, the charter schools are there to pounce and take away classrooms from students. And I'll tell you what I mean. Let's suppose we have some rooms in a school that teachers use for teacher workrooms, that teachers use for computer labs, that teachers use for special ed IEP rooms, that teachers use for services for deaf and hard of hearing or speech and language. Well, those rooms do not have what we call a roster carrying teacher. So those rooms are up for grab. And I said, that's not fair, because you understand this room is being used. It's not with a teacher with her roster of students, but it's used for services to kids. Doesn't matter. Those rooms are up for grabs. So once they get into the school and once they take over classrooms, we have to share everything in that school. We have to share the gymnasium. We have to share the auditorium. There are different bell schedules. They have a different food service mechanism than the regular schools. And what happens is we create this animosity between students, between parents, and between teachers. They have their own entrance, we have our own entrance. It's not a good way to educate children. It is not a good way to do that. And my worst nightmares are with co-locations and the problems that they cause. And it's very expensive too. You know, when they come in and they get their 10 rooms or so, they rekey all the rooms that they have, and they have to have a different system to the office. It's really a mess. Yet they can have an office. It's very funny. They can have an office without a roster carrying teacher, but we can't. So very interesting.
Is that a state law or?
Yeah, unfortunately. And you know, my friend Carl there, he can quote exactly what they are allowed to do because the state permits them to do so. Unfortunately.
So if you had your druthers, if you could get the state legislature to make
We
change.
wanted a moratorium on charters, new charters. I mean, we're not going to close the ones that already exist. That's cruel and unusual punishment. But new charters, and no more co-locations. It's vile. No more co-locations. No more.
I've been on campuses that I've seen that a lot. And it's very disturbing. At one point I was walking down a hallway and somebody came up to me and said, you can't walk down this hallway because this is a co-location school. Yeah, just crazy. I mean, it was all part of the campus.
Yeah,
And of course, I was a little naive, so I turned
I hear
around and
I
went
hear
down
you.
another hallway.
That's a good example. That's a good example. Thank you.
Carol
Carol,
Siegel.
yes, Carol, yes. Hello, Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol Siegel, and I'm Kathy Shakis' mother.
Oh my goodness. Oh, one of my best teachers at Lawrence Middle School. Honest to God, one of my best teachers. She's just wonderful.
Thank you
I
for
follow her on
letting me-
Facebook.
Thank you for
Oh,
telling
sure,
me that.
sure,
She was
sure.
going to actually come and join me tonight, but she didn't feel well today. So
Sweet.
I'm here on her behalf.
Thank you,
I
Carol.
came here because of you.
Oh, Carol.
And I do want to mention, I'm a little concerned about the Granada Hills area because they're just putting in more and more and more charter schools from the high school all the way down, all the
Yeah,
way to
Carol, what they're
kindergarten.
doing is they're extending their empire is what they're actually doing. If I might comment, Mr. Brian Bauer is so furious with me, but it's okay. I was the only board member to vote no for his expansion of the Granada Hills Charter School, right?
Thank you.
They're going and Brian Bauer, B-A-U-E-R. And so, I'm trying to combat parents going over there. And so let me tell you what I've been doing in Board District 3 to help my schools around the Granada Hills Charter catchment area. I've been buying new furniture for the schools so that, when parents come in and look, it looks nice. We have furniture from the 50s. I mean, I'm trying to fix it up, curb appeal, make it look nice, banners, marquees, signs that parents would say, hey, this looks like a pretty good elementary school for my kids to attend. And it is a good elementary school, but a lot of it is eye appeal. And let me, since you mentioned Granada Hills, Carol, let me just tell you something, how I do support my charter schools, okay? I have to be fair. So let's take El Camino. That El Camino, they had the most awful director of El Camino that you ever saw in your whole life. He was using public money, and charter schools are public schools. He was using public money to fly around the United States first class. Like, for example, when we buy furniture, we go to the warehouse and buy furniture in LA. No, he would fly to Michigan with his team. That's where they manufactured the furniture, right? First class tickets, first class hotels, and go buy furniture and then come back. So where did this gentleman have his staff meetings? Well, we would have ours at Norm's. He would have his at Monty's Steakhouse. So it was so ridiculous. It was so unfair. It was so terrible that I had to bring it to light. Well, eventually he was forced to resign, okay? And so was his chief financial officer. They were just doing illegal things. It was just maybe not illegal, let's say immoral, spending public money like it was water, like it was their money, and it's not their money. So,
What about Birmingham High?
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So they got rid of them. Oh, half the parents were mad at me because they loved him. They thought it was just the cat's meow. The other half were glad he went because he was so corrupt. But now that we're back to normal and they have a different director, and I was able to talk to this director. His name is David Hussey. I said, Mr. Hussey, I want to tell you that looking at your books, and you have millions of dollars saved up in your El Camino treasury that you've been getting because you get X number of dollars per student. I said, you should be using this money that you're getting for the kids that earn the money. The kids that are in El Camino now, they should be benefiting from this money. It shouldn't be a bank account, okay? So Mr. Hussey listened, and I said, Mr. Hussey, look at these statistics. Your non-Anglo kids are doing far worse than your Anglo kids. So you're going to have to do something at El Camino. You can't brag, oh, the school is so great, when a small portion of the school is not doing well. Everyone should be rising to the top. So he listened. And he did start a summer school program for minority kids. And he did start tutoring for minority kids. So I have to thank him. I have to thank him for actually listening and trying to make an effort. Then I get a call from El Camino that their heating system has been broken for 6 months. I said, well, why did you wait 6 months to tell me that? And they're just freezing, and they had to go out and they had to buy electric heaters. And then the electric heaters kept popping all the circuit breakers, so it wasn't working. So I made sure that maintenance and operation took care of that heating problem. There is a bucket of money for charter schools for repairs, and I did make sure that happened. So I just want you to know that I am supportive of charter schools that are being cooperative and making kids the point, the focus of their learning. I'm sorry, Mr. Galaxy S8, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Me?
Yeah,
Gary. Mhm.
yeah.
So has Birmingham High was one of the first ones that went charter,
Yeah,
and then it was El Camino and another one,
Birmingham,
kind of about the same time.
yeah.
So to drive by, I used to get to Birmingham when it was a regular school. I was I'm a substitute in LA Unified, so I get around and I see stuff and I hear things. But then Birmingham became a charter, and it sort of positioned itself as kind of a high-tech artsy school. So what's happening at Birmingham? Is there any scandals about?
I can't be too mad at them at Birmingham, and I'll tell you why. Next door to Birmingham is Daniel Pearl Magnet High School. Daniel Pearl,
And I've been there, and that's a very nice school.
it's beautiful, but it's small. Okay, you know, it used to be a special ed center, West Valley Special Education Center. So they don't have a lot of things at Daniel Pearl. They don't have a field for sports and things. So we made a deal with Birmingham. Would you share your fields with the kids from Daniel Pearl? And they said yes, and they are sharing. So when Daniel Pearl, for example, has open house and back to school night, they open their parking lots at Birmingham. So I can't be mad at them, okay? I cannot be mad at them. They haven't done anything that I know that is scandalous, and they've been very open to Daniel Pearl. So I'm not mad at them, okay?
Okay, good. Yeah, Daniel Pearl, that facility used to be like an army barracks.
The whole complex, even Northwest, yeah, even my office. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the way it's laid out. Once I was told that, and I realized, oh, I see how this was.
Yeah.
You know,
World War II. Yeah.
Army Hospital.
Yes, correct. Mr. Dent, did you want to say something? I saw you were raising your hand before.
I had so many things I wanted to ask. Carl has been talking about your opponent and what she's doing that seems to be making Granada Hills less open or less
Welcoming.
yeah, more obscure, more less accountability, and it seems like she's going the way that El Camino was, and just wonder if you have any insights into that.
I'm being very careful with her, but I would allow Carl. Would you like to address Mr. Dent?
I guess I could piggyback on that. For one thing, Granada. So Granada is a conversion high school, a conversion charter school. They used to be an LAUSD school. They were high functioning as an LAUSD school. Part of the reason they went charter was to prevent busing from bringing students from outside the neighborhood into their neighborhood. Now, so as a conversion charter, they're supposed to accept all neighborhood kids. But I'm hearing from my neighbors that kids who aren't that easy to educate are being forced into Granada. I know the district has had a complaint against them for years.
Carl, let me just add that just this
Yeah.
week, I had a complaint from a parent who said they moved into the area of Granada Hills High School and they would not enroll their child, what I call brick and mortar Granada. And they were told, you must go to I-Granada High School, and they didn't want to go to I-Granada High School. And they said, not only must you go there, but you have to go there for your 4 years to I-Granada High School. And they said, that's not why we moved into this area. We want our kids to go to Granada Hills High School, the actual brick and mortar. So the problem with them, Lloyd, is that they overbook, they overstock their rooms. So then if somebody moves in, there's no room for them. And I've spoken to our charter division, they have to leave room for growth. And they don't want to leave room for growth because it costs them money to have open seats. So go ahead, Carl.
Okay.
So how this complaint has been going on for years. How do we finally resolve it, along with the fact that they serve as a percentage half of the special education students as any of the other surrounding schools?
Well, how we do it is by having all of these complaints given to my LAUSD charter division to investigate every one of these complaints until I feel they'll be tired of doing this and actually start complying, to be honest with you.
So my follow-up question was, are there any legislators who are open to cracking down on these open bars for charters to just do whatever they want to do?
Gosh, Carl or Encore, and well, the legislators hopefully were not taking charter money, but what do you think, Carl and Encore? Any legislators that are open to doing this? What do you think?
We've made some connections, but not enough. No one wants to put that charter school association target on their back, which comes with a $300,000 independent expenditure. And people who would, I ran in Assembly District 45. Jesse Gabriel isn't pro-charter, but he's not going to step out and do anything against charters. Laura Friedman's the same way. Adrien Nazarian has made some strides, and we've got our kind of stable of elected officials who, when prodded by a coordinated effort by teachers unions, by progressive groups, they'll dig into a specific charter issue. But then, because of the 2-year process and the negotiations, we need to win more seats with champions for public education like Scott and other folks. And, as we talk about, build a bench and gain power, as opposed to being afraid of how much money the charter school is going to pour into races. But that's the dynamic right now that's keeping us from it's Prop 39, right? The co-location. There's specific pieces of legislation we know we need to be overturning at the legislative level. We're not in a position of of power to do such things in terms of those specific policies.
And Scott's it provides the perfect example of why. I mean, based on one single vote not to expand a school, he didn't even try to shut them down. He just said they shouldn't expand. They should stick to what their mission was. On that basis, they're going after him, and they're going to spend millions of dollars.
Such liars, saying he tried to shut us down. I said, what are you talking about? I said, you're doing well, Granada Hills Charter. I don't like how you're doing your stuff, but you're doing well, Granada Hills Charter. I never said I was trying to shut you down. I'm trying to stop you from expanding and closing my perfectly high functioning elementary schools that you want to decimate. That's the truth.
And for that, they'll spend millions of dollars
to
try to replace you.
Yeah.
And in this particular race, we see it happening, right? Even in the primary, you saw all that mail that came out, and they have the political game is a little bit dirty, right? We saw the anti-Semitic mailers in the primary. We saw the nebulous, specious attacks on all sorts of things that weren't based on fact, but because they have so much money, they can test it out, and it goes to everyone. And now we're on our back foot trying to figure out how to respond to this. And that's why groups like this, the Progressive Democrats of America, San Fernando Valley chapter, are so important. And it's, a lot of familiar faces, people that we've worked together. And, we know that there's so many other things on the ballot. Sir, you've talked about this. It's hard to focus on a school board race when president's on the ballot, assembly, Congress, and all these important things. And so we appreciate your attention now, and we're hopeful that you'll set out some time or money to support this Scott's campaign for school board, because that's what it's going to take. Even the little bits of work, the postcards, the phone calling, the social media shares, whatever it takes, whatever you're in a position to do. And we're willing to work, right? Coordinate. Prop 15, Scott is a supporter of Proposition 15. We know we need to do something about the property tax and the split roll. We got this opportunity. And if we can coordinate across other issues that we are all on the same side of, maybe we can figure out a good way that we can work together at least a few hours in the cycle.
Do you have
Thank
phone
you.
banking coming up or anything that we can jump onto?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Ankur's my key person on that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll send out the email with all the details, but we can schedule it according to you, right? We have the phone bank operation up. We can turn it on if we have callers. It's flexible. We're trying to have 3 hours a day. But people are busy with other campaigns and,
Right.
COVID. And if you have kids, you're also a teacher, right? So we know how this is difficult and people don't have time. So we'll be flexible with you. When you want to help and can help, we'll have phone banking operations, postcarding. That's pretty easy on your schedule, right? And if you have some nice words to share about Scott after you ask him all your questions, please share that on Facebook. Take the screenshot of this event right here, and if PDA can work on that kind of marketing, advertising, getting the word out, that helps also.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
And
And
I would
Carol,
also-
I hope I didn't cut Carol short. Carol, did you have any other questions for me? I know you were talking about Granada Hills. Any other questions that you were going to ask?
I talked to a lot of teachers, and of course, I know what happened with Kathy. I find that the schools seem to be trying to rid themselves of teachers who have been in service for a long time and seem to want to hire newer teachers.
That's a terrible thing to do, to save money. That's a terrible thing to
And
do.
they are doing that to people, and I hear it from a lot of the teachers.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And I wonder if there's anything that can ever be done with the people who are in charge of this kind of a situation.
Well, I report every one of those charges to the local district and to the central district to let them know that this has been reported to me for them to investigate. So I do report that. I know it's a terrible thing. And I know some of the people involved.
And it seems to be citywide. It's not just in one place.
Oh,
Or maybe even in other areas. I talk to teachers from other areas and they're going through the same thing.
really? Yeah. Carl, yes, sir.
So I would just also like to, point out that as a father of 2 daughters with severe special education needs, who I live in the Granada area. That's my neighborhood school. And my 2 daughters were not welcome at that school and could not attend. But everybody needs to know that Scott championed the special education centers that serve our most needy students. And because of him, they're open and thriving now. And so
Thank you,
on
Carl.
that point, everybody needs to know that. On special ed, nobody beats Scott.
Oh, yeah. There was a lady named Sharon Howell when I was first elected 5 years ago. And my God, she was hell-bent on closing those centers. They were too expensive. They were too expensive. But I said, look at the services that we offer at these centers. Who is going to give the kids the same care that they could get at a center at their local school? That couldn't be done. I've been to a lot of my centers that have swimming pools, and you have to see, it's so heartwarming. You have to see a kid who cannot walk, but put into the pool and actually walk. Look at his face and watch how he's walking, in the water. It's so gratifying. And these are our most needy kids, our most vulnerable kids, and somebody has to take care of them. Somebody has to do that. And that I could not let that go. No way. No way.
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Anybody else have a question? No?
Good. I answered them all. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Ankur will remain on, of course, and he is my spokesperson as well as Carl. They both know me very well.
Do you want to sum it
Doris
up?
Den, as a matter of fact.
Do you have any coming up? Do you want to tell us your endorsements or?
I have been endorsed by the County Federation of Labor, the LA County Democratic Party, every single union in LAUSD. And I'm happy to say that my opponent has been endorsed by no one.
Wow.
As far as LA Democratic Party, I'm sorry, I don't want to make it sound that way. As far as LA Democratic Party, no labor union has supported her at all because they have her number. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, I see that Dan is here.
Yeah. Let's see.
No.
Did. All right. Well, let's thank Scott though first. Thank you, Scott.
Thank
So
you.
much.
And I'll leave you with Encore
Thank you very
and
much.
Carl. Thank you.
All
A
right.
pleasure to be here. A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, hello, Dan.
Hey, howdy.
How you doing?
I'm just great. I just love wildfires, COVID-19. You know, Black people are getting killed by police.
Right. These are the times that try people's souls.
Truly.
Right? Yes, yes. So, Teresa, we might as well have Dan make his presentation now. And
Okay. Dan, are you representing a group or are you representing yourself?
I am part of Interfaith Solidarity Network.
Okay.
We are part of the Reimagine LA Yes on Measure J coalition. It's like over 100 community-based organizations. And we are, I'm going to put our, I'm going to drop our link into the chat because that's going to, in a bit, you can be able to go there and see a lot of information on Measure J. Just, follow the first article is about putting our faith into action, and just follow that and follow that story, and then you'll be able to go all the way down and scroll down and get a lot of information, and then you'll be able to get to a link that is going to be, it's a community conversation with Eunices Hernandez, Diana Zuniga, and Valicia Adams-Keller, along with Tommy Newman of Everyone In, and some other folks. It's about 57 minutes worth, well worth your viewing. But if you don't have that much time, you'll see there's a minute markers that you can look between, which essentially contains the lion's share of the first of 3 parts. That piece is crucial for you to look at. So I'm gonna finish putting this in here. And by all means, you can visit there. I'm gonna pull up something else too that is gonna.
Interfaith Solidarity.
InterfaithSolidarityNetwork.org.
Okay, so I'm using a smartphone, so it doesn't always work.
Okay. Well,
But
okay, well, let's circle back with each other and I'll be able to maybe help you with that. So basically, yes on J. So folks, this is a moment, right? This is more than a movement. It's a movement. Since the murder of George Floyd on May 25th, and all the ensuing events after that, all the inequities and inequalities that that COVID-19 has exposed, and also thanks to the lack of leadership at the very top, we see how economic disparities are intense. This is an opportunity to begin to dismantle this system of domination of moneyed classes and turn it into systems of care. This is about dismantling systemic racism. It's about working for and instituting housing justice, racial justice, economic justice, and restorative justice. Restorative justice to replace systems of incarceration. We're going to do this by raising $1 billion a year that will be wholly devoted to community benefits in underserved communities, like building affordable housing, preventing homelessness, building supportive housing for people who are experiencing homelessness, mental health facilities, health centers in places where people need them and where they do not have access to them right now. This is not a new tax. It is taking 10% off the top of the spending plan of LA County and saying that this 10% is sacrosanct. You cannot touch it. The Sheriff's Department cannot touch it. The LA District Attorney's Office, no criminal justice entity can touch it. This is wholly the province of people who are working in the community for the community, investing in Black and Brown owned businesses in terms of economic justice as well. This is going to be on the ballot November 3rd. It is, as far as I know, the only countywide measure on the ballot. It is yes on J. And I want to just also mention very quickly, through a majority of vote of the people, Measure J will amend LA County's charter to permanently allocate 10% of existing locally controlled revenues to be directed to community investment. This is money that we already have. It's money that's already being spent, but on priorities that don't reflect our values. So right now, LA County spends 40%, 42% of taxpayer money on law enforcement and the legal system. Now, for people in these communities, that's totally out of whack. It's time to invest in community counseling, mental health services, youth development programs, small business, jobs creations, and affordable housing. Individual leaders come and go. Measure J will structurally change the budget and permanently enshrine our values in the county charter.
Daniel, I have a question. Who decides where the money goes? Is there a commission, or who decides what money goes
okay.
where?
Well, that's a really good question, and all those things are being worked out right now by the Reimagine LA coalition. You'll be able to see who they are by I'll be able to forward you some information about who they are. It's just all the community-based organizations that have been historically deeply entrenched and have been working on this for decades. And they're always scraping every year for money to invest in these programs. What this is going to do is that it's going to say, okay, no more scraping for this all the time. This is going to be a permanently dedicated stream, 10% that's going to go into these programs.
So they're going to allocate 10% of the county budget for these programs. And does Measure J indicate, kind of following up on Teresa's question, what agency will do that? Or is it just provide that an agency will be set up to do it or?
An agency will be set up to do that for sure. And for sure, it's going to be made up. There's about over 100 organizations. Interfaith Solidarity Network is one among many, many organizations that have been, that are community-based, and they've been working in the community for decades, literally. You know, Lane, Justice LA, you know, the list goes. United Way of Greater LA is involved, very heavily involved. St. Joseph Center as well, because they're deeply invested in seeing that not just affordable housing, but supportive housing is in place. The supportive housing that we've been waiting for a few years now to be done. This would be dedicated to that where it's needed. The other thing too is the restorative justice piece. That's a really major piece. The policing, the sheriff's department, they're always coming in after the fact, after something has happened. You know, all the difficulties that we've had with policing in neighborhoods that are lower income, that are Black and brown neighborhoods. We are in these neighborhoods, it will be a move to shift away from that and into restorative justice programs. I can't describe a restorative justice is exactly how it sounds. It's about the victim and the perpetrator coming together to restore and repair the relationship and to restore what has been lost in that relationship. That's a real, that's a 10-second description of something that's very deep, very profound, and very, very effective and healing long-term. This is about long-term solutions. This is not about putting a Band-Aid on anything at all. What we are, we will have we have a phone bank that's set up. We are going to be ready to go beginning this Monday night. We're going to do one night a week. We're just asking for one thing. We're asking for 2 hours of your time, one night a week. It will of course be virtual. You'll be very well trained. You'll be very well versed in the issues. And again, I recommend that link to that community conversation between the 4-minute and the 16-minute 22-second markers in between there of a much larger piece. Listen to that, watch that, and just you'll be able to feel the dedication of these people who've been in the trenches on this for decades. So I'm going to put my contact info in there because you all know me, so that I'll be able to pass this on to a young man named Ben Lezebnik, who is our ISN Yes on J team captain, and he'll be coordinating. Mail. Do you have any questions for me beyond that?
Doris, you have your hand up?
Hey,
No.
Doris.
Sorry.
You have your hand up or no?
Yeah, sorry. We had a phone call and I might have missed it if you spoke about it already, but where are the funds coming from? Who's giving up funds to put together this Measure J?
Where are the funds coming from?
Yeah, where are we getting the money for this?
Where's the funding coming for?
Funding, yes.
It's coming
Yeah.
from you.
I know.
It's coming from just regular people. Listen, I'll be honest with you.
I'm not talking about the proposition. I'm talking about the measure if it passes.
No, the
Okay.
measure if it passes.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, the
asking the
measure if
same
it
question.
passes. that's coming. So LA County has the budget, right? They have,
Right.
I call it a spending plan. It's a plan to spend money. So what this is doing is just simply taking 10% of what comes in every year of that budget. Doris, it's not a new tax. It's
I know,
not like we're taxing over and above for this. It has nothing to do with that. It's
Yeah.
just taking 10% of that. Oh, and by the way, speaking of the campaign, I'm a volunteer. I'm doing this. This is not. I'm doing this because Interfaith Solidarity Network it's about putting putting our values into action and getting into action. We've been we were recently fighting the plastic pollution bills, trying to get them through the state legislature. We're deeply involved in eco-justice. We've been in the trenches on housing justice. And we've also had an awakening about racial justice since the murder of George Floyd. And all of these things they all seem to just come together in Measure J. It's about the community standing up for itself. It's not about some white folks coming in and telling them how they should run their lives. Okay.
I guess what I'm asking
you're
is,
shifting the funds from some other place, and what are the other places?
I mean, is it coming from the sheriff's? This is county funds, right? So,
It's just coming from the total budget of
right,
the
so
county.
does every department have to cut back a certain amount so they can raise the funds? Or are we asking the sheriff department?
No.
Good question.
No. It's totally, the Board of Supervisors, which by the way, supported this with a vote of 4-1 to put this onto the ballot. They are in charge of allocating monies. And they set up the apparatus that allocates the monies that come from the county budget into services in the county. This is just taking that total, this is taking, like, let's say it's $1 million, let's say, and $100,000 of that right off the top is going to go to these services, period. It's not coming from anyone. Well, maybe it's coming from someone. It's going to be coming obviously from, a little bit from every other thing that is probably in the budget. But the point is this, 42% of the existing budget that's wholly dedicated to the criminal justice system is just not right. And this is an attempt to redress that balance and to right, decades of disparities.
Dan, quick question.
Yeah.
Who voted against it? I have a
Catherine
feeling
Barger?
I know, but go ahead.
Yeah, everybody voted for it. Catherine
How
Barger
did I guess?
Yeah, that's all right. We don't hold that against her. It's a democracy. But we beat her 4-1. So
and I had another question, but I forgot what it was. Anyone else have questions?
I have a couple quick
comment
questions.
on
Sure.
this.
First
Summarize.
of all, I have a question. Who wants to help out this campaign?
I
Who
will.
wants to see this kind of systemic racism vigorously countered?
we all do.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Lloyd.
First of all, I'm glad your name came up because I didn't recognize you with the beard. And number 2, does this have anything to do with the report that was a large article on it on this morning's Times? There was an article on a huge report by Citizens for a Better LA, and it was entitled,
Oh, I saw that.
something like no going back or something.
Yeah.
Is this related to that?
It's not related to it, Lloyd, but I'm so glad you brought that up because that was an excellent study that they did, and very in-depth study. And boy, it sounded exactly like what was needed was Measure J.
Yeah.
Based on that
It
study.
does.
Right?
That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, we had nothing to do with it. But we were thrilled when that came out this morning because it completely supports and grounds this whole campaign and this whole effort, because it was basically saying this is exactly what's needed in LA County, basically, right? And here we are. We have Measure J, and that's what Measure J represents. So we're delighted with that report that came out. Any other questions?
Are you expecting opposition from law enforcement? I guess so.
Well, I will tell you, I don't know if it was yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday. Sheriff's Union plunked down $490,000 to fight this. So we're raising money, not anything remotely near that. We're struggling, we're scrimping, we're saving, we're just grabbing resources here and there wherever we can get them to be able to get the word out. Here's the thing. Most people in LA County, when they see what this is, they would go, oh yeah, absolutely. The question is this, and we all know this, on this call. Nobody votes for something that they don't understand. Nobody votes for something that they don't know about. So that's why we have to reach out to people with phone banking, there's also going to be, you'll notice in the, if you follow the link on the Putting Faith into Action, you'll see down in there also an invitation to join a phone bank and reach out to voters so that they can understand what this is about. And below that, you'll see save the date, October 4th at 4 o'clock. We're going to be doing a Zoom event, which is about Yes on J. It's going to be the compassionate voter, and basically just putting everything, in the context of compassionate voting. And then the whole feature will be Measure J, mainly, a conversation about that. And then an organizing piece will be part of that as well. So by all means, if you're not ready to please just, plan on signing on to that. And I'll forward that information.
Will you be doing Facebook advertising so that people can share the ads?
Yeah, there is extensive Facebook advertising now that I'm seeing. I'm wondering why you're not seeing it.
Anything.
Which website are you on?
Let me hold on one second. Let me.
I was on this Interfaith Solidarity Network.
Yeah, good. That's good. I'm going to give you something else. Yeah, and what we would love is if you would join our team. I'm going to give you the information for the Yes on Measure J website, filled with information. But I just would, I invite you to join our team on this so that we could work together, ISN and PDA, SFV, to be partners on this.
ISN is the Interfaith Solidarity Network.
InterfaithSolidarityNetwork.org. Right.
Okay. All right.
That is on there, I believe.
Yeah. You have in the chat.
That's up at 8:12 p.m. Yeah. So wow.
The Yes on J.
Yeah. Oh, right. I have to hit enter. Just don't forget to hit enter. It's in.
Okay.
It's there. That'll give you any other questions whatsoever.
Yes,
I have a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm not part of the faith community,
Oh, good.
and I don't have a problem with that because a lot of us share all the same values, so it
Right.
makes no difference. But there are some people who would agree with all these values, but they run into these things throughout their lives, and the implication of faith and religion sounds like it's excluding people who are secular people who are of a humanist orientation who agree with all this.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
We just had an event. It was August 30th, and it is. I think it's up on our website, the whole recording of it, and the free atheists of Santa Clarita participated. Everybody who's involved in this is involved in it because Muslims were being banned in this country. There was a rampant anti-Semitism, and it seemed like nobody had each other's backs at the advent of the Trump administration. And so a number of us who are in faith communities said, no, this is not right. And we got together initially just to have each other's backs, to be fighting off, right-wing, hateful extremists, who are against Muslims, who are anti-Semites, and whatever else. We do not proselytize. We just, each of us come from our different communities, and we respect each other. So this was about building respect, building appreciation of all peoples, and building bridges across differences. And that's about all cultures. This is really not just about faith communities, really, at all. The secular humanists, the free atheists of Santa Clarita, are part of our. They're one of our partners because we simply all share the same values.
Exactly.
Compassion, justice, very important, mercy, and love.
And reason.
And reason. And the difference is we like to put this into action. We want to counter the narrative, of the conservative right-wing fundamentalist, white nationalist Christian thing. We just want to counter that narrative and say, no, that is the lie.
And in terms of their practice, if I may say so,
yeah,
these white evangelical anti, they're not religious, they're hypocrites. That's not being a spiritual religious person.
Right. It's not anything we recognize as being, loving your neighbor as you love yourself. The whole thing with the mask, the whole business of the mask, this is like, if I care about you, I'm putting my mask on, because I'm going to love you as I love myself, because I want to protect myself and I want to protect you from whatever's going on. So that whole thing has become politicized for no reason whatsoever. So who feels like they could join us maybe Monday evening?
Ankar, I think I'm going to mute you. I can't. I don't think I can do Monday, but I can do a future Monday.
Great, splendid. Okay.
Do it every week on Monday.
Yep, that's what we're going to do. And
Are you
a couple
meeting
of hours.
online?
Come again?
You're meeting online?
Yep, just like this.
Okay.
And it's really simple. It's the predictive. It's just very simple to do. You'll be well trained, and then we circle back. We'll circle back together again afterwards, just to kind of come together again and say, what was that like? And
what time?
Pardon?
What time?
We're looking at 7 o'clock right now. But I'm going to, I'm sorry, 6 o'clock. But let me confirm that with Corinne Ho, who's the West Valley organizer for Everyone In, is also overlooking the whole campaign in the West Valley. She was at a meeting today about, they were hammering out the details about the phone bank. So we're going to get those details settled, and I'll get that to you, Teresa, for dissemination.
Yeah, because we have to do another blast this week. So anything you send me, I can send out right away.
Oh, okay, great. What day would that be?
Oh, either over the weekend or Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, fine, no problem. We'll know by then for sure.
All right.
Well, listen, I want to thank you, everybody. Nice to spend time with you. And I do hope we can work together. I feel like this is sort of like a moment that does not come along often, where there feels like there's a collective will and for action on countering systemic racism and building into the system more opportunities for care rather than for incarceration. So thanks for your time. You've got my email. Do not hesitate to reach out to me. You've got our website. Again, take a look through there. Go down to that community conversation. It is highly recommended. And take a look at the Reimagine LA website as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Tamm, you want to put your email in the chat also?
I think I did, but I'll put it in again. I'll put my number in there too.
Don't see
I
it.
think, is this correct?
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. You did.
It says, it's got 2 L's, AMM.
An LT.
Oh, just one L, right?
Oh, it might have 2 L's. You're right. You're right.
Well, because there's Daniel, the L in the Daniel, and then Lamb.
Yeah, I
has
wasn't really looking at what I was doing.
They appear
Oh, yeah.
together.
I'm going to put my email in again.
The last L has to be a T. That's all.
Really hard, Daniel Tamm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Mike,
watching.
what's next?
Okay.
Okay. That's better.
Thank you,
Daniel
Daniel.
Tamm.
All
Okay.
right.
Very informative. I didn't know anything
Progressive
about it.
Democrats of
Steve.
America, San Fernando Valley, you rock.
That's what I didn't see. And it's at what?
Gmail.
Oh, at Gmail. Okay.
All right, good night, everybody.
All right,
Remember,
got it.
don't hesitate to contact me to follow up with any questions whatsoever. I'm happy to talk about you.
All right. Thanks.
I'm happy
Thank you.
to talk with you,
With you.
not about you. I don't want to talk about you. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
Right.
Good night.
795.
All right, Mike, where are we?
Well, I think we're getting pretty close. We wanted to talk about the PDA-CA fundraiser and just kind of reiterate some of the stuff on PDA-CA. But
Could I just take 2 more minutes?
sure,
Yeah, Encore. Is that Encore?
yeah.
Where is he?
He froze.
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Maybe he lost his connection.
Are you looking for Encore?
I
Yeah.
thought that's who asked for a couple more
His
minutes.
picture just disappeared. He's probably going to have to
There he is.
reconnect.
Encore, do
Is
you
it
want
my
to-
connection or can you hear me?
Yeah,
we
we
can
can.
We'll hear him. Okay.
All right, but I was on the other line with ADA. Just like to put it out there, we can work with them on some sort of joint election event focusing on education if that's
You froze
something that
again.
we're interested in. They're looking to organizations like yourselves, Our Revolution, and figure out how we can coordinate because literally on the same night, we're on 2 different calls with 15 people each, basically talking about how do we, win a progressive victory in either a school board race or on Prop 15 or whatever. I'm just putting that out there and I'll make sure I coordinate. And we're going to have some dates in mind. October 7th, West Valley People's Alliance is doing something like a ballot fill-in party.
Oh,
Scott's
okay.
going to be on that. We'll talk specifically about different propositions we don't talk about on the 12th, this upcoming weekend. And ADA still hasn't set a date, so I'll loop back around, and maybe if we have a meeting, I can invite whoever wants to participate to make sure that we coordinate effectively on that.
Or if you
Fair?
give me the
Good?
information and I'm sending out a blast, I can send it out with what I've got.
Great, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I've been really
Thank
impressed.
you.
I haven't been able to attend many of the West Valley meetings, but the ones I've been to have been really impressive.
ADA is older than some of you guys.
Yeah,
Roosevelt, right? Franklin, FDR.
Americans for Democratic Action.
I think Eleanor, right?
Yeah, they were one of the original progressive Democrat type groups.
Yeah.
All right.
They were very strong.
I don't know if you guys know that PDSMM, Progressive Democrats of the Santa Monica Mountains, they always have a fundraiser every year, and this year it's going to be not this weekend, but next Saturday. And it's kind of, I don't think they don't even have a flyer yet, so this is kind of last minute. So it's going to be Saturday, September 19th, next weekend, from 3 to 5, and it'll be on Zoom, and Daniel Ellsberg will be there on Zoom, and Norman Solomon, and I think they're honoring some more people. I'll find out more details tomorrow, where PDA-CA is doing a meeting, and they'll be sending out a blast to everyone. They're hoping to get people from all over the state. And so some of the money will be going to PDSMM, and some will be going to PDA-CA, which is our California organization. So, so if you can save that date, and I guess there's going to be a charge. I'm not sure yet how much it is.
Not gonna feed us though.
Yeah, I know. So she's taking off the food amount, I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be weird. No view, no no going up that winding road where you're holding your breath the whole time.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of you are on Dorothy's list, so you'll also get a flyer from her on it.
Oh, yeah.
But, and PDA-CA, I believe they're going to make it a statewide invitation, like Teresa mentioned, so it'll be kind of a joint fundraiser possibly. And, you know, PDSMM, you know, Progressive Democrats of Santa Monica Mountains awards different awards each year. I think Norman, who some of you may know, he's been active in California politics, and he was one of the founders of Roots Action, is it? I believe. Big, a real progressive activist, and also especially an anti-war activist. And I think he's getting, I think they're going to do a journalism award. And Ellsberg, I think, is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award at the PDSMM. So that should be great to hear what Daniel Ellsberg has to say. Well, they're both, you know, well, you know who Ellsberg is, and Norman is a great activist. So you don't have to come up to Dorothy's house this year.
And the good thing is Ellsberg's getting a little bit old, and so she was worried about him actually coming to the, you know, the event, flying in. I think he's in the East Coast. So this way with Zoom, they don't have to worry about him getting there okay and everything.
All the money they're saving and not providing transportation.
Yeah, she just wanted to reduce it to like $5, and I'm thinking should be a little bit less, but we'll see. I don't know if she set on the price yet. The flyer is supposed to come out in the next day or two. So I have one more thing on the COVID response. The HR 6379 is what we're supporting, which was a more generous COVID response than what was passed. But what was passed by the Democrats in the House was the HEROES Act. That passed in May. And today was the vote for the GOP amount, which they did not invite Democrats to participate in. They did not they did not want them to change a line in it or get rid of anything in it. It was just, so the Democrats passed $3.4 trillion. The GOP passed their skinny version or anemic version, $500 billion. The Democrats wanted compromise at 2.2 trillion. You know, which is about halfway, which is usually what a compromise is. And at this point, it doesn't even look like it's going to be taken up before the election. So people who were depending on that for unemployment benefits getting extended, for student loans, for what the GOP passed, I believe, didn't include anything for the post office. The Democrats have something for the post office, for states. So I don't know. I don't know what the Republicans think, how they're going to win when they can't
Well,
even fund the
the way they
post
always do,
office.
they'll cheat.
Blame the Democrats.
Yeah, the HEROES Act, I think, has the 25 billion in it for the post office.
Yeah, it definitely has post office funds.
Yeah, and it also, yeah.
So
I think the Republican
the
plan
GOP
forgives a loan
version- Hmm?
to the post. The Republican plan forgives a $10 billion loan to the post office.
Oh, does?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, anybody got anything else?
Good night.
Hey,
Good
we're
meeting.
10 minutes early. This is a record.
Yeah. Well, I think we got some good information from Scott, although it seems like a lot of you had heard him before. This is my first time hearing him, although he spoke briefly at DIPSIB, I think, one night. And then, of course, Dan on Measure J was interesting as well. That was good information. So unless anyone else has anything else or any questions or any comments, I guess we can adjourn. And I thank you for all attending.
All right, and I'll invite whoever might not be on the PDA-CA or the PDSFV Facebook account. I'll invite you to like it. And then
Okay.
you can post stuff there too. All right.
Okay.
Thanks a